everybody. This is Cheri at djsundry.blogspot.com, and today I'm going to make a 4th of July card. Now, I don't send a lot of 4th of July cards, and I don't plan to this year, but I did want to make one, and I'll find somebody to give it to. So let's just get started. I wanted to do a very traditional red, white, and blue card, but I wanted to mix things up a bit. So I recently purchased this fireworks embossing folder. This is from Doris, and I got it from Jessica over at Pink Peacock. And so I wanted to use that, and I've been saving it. Now, there are other things you can use this for, but for today I'm doing a very traditional fireworks. I'm using my distress sander, and I'm just showing you what this looks like, and I'll show you what I did with it later. I did not want to do that on camera because when you distress sand something, it makes a mess, and I wanted to have that cleaned up before we went to work. I used my Versamark with white embossing powder, and I'll show that in a minute. I had this blue cardstock that was in my scrap stash, and so I used some pieces of that. And just so you know, and I'll show you where, I had this, I painted some stars with this true blue for another project that you're going to see in another couple days. And I had a leftover star that was already painted blue, and so I'll show that to you in a few minutes, but that is what I'm going to be using as my main sentiment. I'm going to be using some foam tape. The red paper that I'm going to use this is from Coordinations, and this is one of the Tim Holtz distressable papers. And what that means is that you can simply sand it and to achieve a different look. Now, other papers you can do that as well, but this is specifically designed for that. Well, we'll talk about it in a minute, but I have to say I did not love the way it stood up to my embossing folder. It seemed to kind of warp it a little bit, but it's still going to turn out to be a cute card. Now, this is the current red, white, and blue pack from 3 Girl Jam, and the red is pretty, without a doubt. The blue is gorgeous, without a doubt, but my favorite is the white, because if you notice, it's not true white. It's got red and blue in it, and I just think this is gorgeous. But it's a limited edition, so if you want to get your hands on it, you probably ought to get some, because when it's gone, it's probably gone until next summer. Don't know that for sure, but that's kind of the idea that I've gotten. So you're going to want to get your hands on some of this, because there are so many beautiful things you can make with that. My stamp set that I'm using is Sweet July from K. Andrew Designs, and I've already done the stamping. And then my card base is just from Coordinations. This is Crafty cardstock. Now, this is really super thin. I don't love how thin it is, but I'm putting so many layers on this card that we should be okay. I would not recommend, personally, the Coordinations paper from Joann's as card bases. It's just really super thin. Now, I have cut this to be 4 1/4 inches wide by 11 inches tall, and I'm scoring that at 5 1/2 so that I have my traditional A2 size card. And we're actually going to work on the inside first, because I want to start building up those layers to add the sturdiness that I would like on the card. And I've already cut my layers. My first layer for the inside of the card is going to be this. This is let me think. It's 4 inches wide by 5 1/4 inches tall. And I'm just going to start building layers just like you would on the front of the card, but I wanted to do it on the inside of this card as well. So just building up the layers. And by the time I get all the layers added to it, this is a piece of that red. Now, this one is cut just 1/4 inch smaller all the way around. So it is, let's see, this one would be, what do I do here? So this one's 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches is what that is. And it has some texture to it, so that just adds an extra dimension. Now, before I put this in, I didn't think about it before, but I think we're going to stamp on that. So let me find some red ink here. Let's see. Let's go pull out. Let's pull out the Close to My Heart pad. And how about if we pull out another one of those stamps and stamp something on the inside. Let's see, summertime. Let's just do the celebrate. That'll be something simple that we can do. And that one is still attached. Every once in a while with these clear stamps, you find one that the manufacturer didn't quite cut all the way through. So just be aware that that can happen. And I'm just going to ink that up. And I think we're going to go, this is Outdoor Denim by Close to My Heart. Let's just use that to ink it up. Now this is pigment ink, so just remember it's going to be nice and thick. If I'm off camera there, I apologize. I just want to put that in the corner. I'll let that dry. Now this is my baby wipe that I used to clean up my distress mess. As you can see, it was quite a mess. Now I have to be careful because this is pigment ink and it takes a minute to dry. We'll set that aside and we'll come back and put the center, that part on the center of the card in just a little while. I want to give it plenty of time to dry because I'm not embossing it or anything. So now let's move to the outside of the card, and I'm going to grab my bone folder and just really, one thing that I do like about this card is sometimes the heavy cardstock, when you crease it, it will tear instead of just fold, and this will not do that. Now these are the pieces that I cut for the outside. This is the piece that I distressed, and the size of the distressing folder is basically an A2 size card. So rather than do what I typically do when I'm doing layers is I go 1/4 inch on each layer, I actually went 1/8 of an inch on each layer, and I still ended up cutting off small amounts of my embossing. It's okay. I would prefer not to have done that, but I didn't want that to be my card back, and I still wanted to have the blue in there. So this one is actually cut, instead of at 5 1/4, this would be cut at 5 3/8 by 4 1/8, just so that I'll have some room for the other part. But I do have to be very careful about lining this up now. I'm so used to eyeballing it the other way that I have to be a lot more careful when doing it this way. Now this is my next layer, and so this one's going to be 4 inches by 5 1/4, and that's going to go on next. But before I adhere that, I want to go ahead and adhere my ribbon. And I have decided, this is a star that I had, and this is just a star, it's just a chipboard star that I had for a different project, and I had painted it with that blue, and then I embossed over Happy 4th of July. So this is a pretty clean and simple card. I'm going to put this right here, so I'm going to cut a piece of ribbon just to go underneath it, and I don't want a lot of extra. For one thing, I don't want the extra dimension, but also I don't want to waste my ribbon. So to do that, I'm just going to grab a couple pieces of Scotch tape here. You could use washi tape. I just grab Scotch tape because it's convenient and I don't have to tear it or anything other than just off my dispenser. And I am going to put it kind of across there and bring it around, and if it's not on there perfectly, I'm not going to stress about it. And normally I would pull that relatively taut when I use this method, but this time I don't want to, because I don't mind if it's a little bit loose, because it kind of shows that crinkableness of the crinkle ribbon. So being loose I'm okay with. It's not going to fall off. I'm not worried about that. Now I'm going to use extra adhesive on the back of the card because of the embossing. It's not because of the ribbon so much as it is because of the embossing, because where those different shapes have been embossed out, it picks up. It's a little more difficult to make sure it's all adhered. Now you have to be looking fairly close to even notice that those fireworks are distressed. You can see a little bit of a difference, but I did not heavily distress them. And part of the reason was I was just kind of afraid that if I did, then I would, my paper would rip, because it just felt thin to me after I was all done. So, but you can see it a little bit, and I think I've thought of a way I can add some extra sparkle and shine too. Now this is I've put my star on foam tape just to give it that extra dimension, and as I said, I stamped it Happy 4th of July and I embossed it, and then I had gone around it with some Studio G glitter glue, and I'm going to kind of put it at an angle. I don't want it to be perfectly straight. So there we have Happy 4th of July, and then to finish off that inside, we're going to go ahead and adhere that down. That should be plenty dry by now. And then this, I have a white spot to put my message in it. If I want to write a little note to whoever the recipient of the card will be. And I miscut that. Wow. Sorry about that, guys. If I saved the wrong piece. So this one, I'm gonna have to cut from this side. This one should be 3 3/4. Yes, mistakes definitely happen. It is 3 3/4. Okay, let's go down to 3 1/2. Too many layers. I just didn't do the math right. 3 1/2. So this would be at 5, so we're going to go down to 4 3/4. There we go. That should fit a little bit better. And then we'll just adhere that down much better. And then we've got our red, white, and blue. There, plenty of room. And now this feels like a nice heavy card. Now I have this Winter Frost paint from Creative Inspirations that I have never used. And I thought now might be a good idea to try it. Make sure I'm opening it the right way. I am. And it's just kind of a shimmery paint, and this is just a coloring tool brush that came with it. And to start with, let's just put that, oh, that's pretty. I'm just putting that over the tops of the stars, just thin, just to add just that little extra brightness to the card. Now I could, if I wanted to, I could add it to the whole card, to the different 4th of July, to the fireworks itself. But I think rather than do that, I think I'm just going to do all the little stars, and then I'll go back and do it on occasional others, just to kind of mix up the definition a little bit. So now we've got all, oh, there's technically a little star. So that just adds just that extra little bit. Now let's go back through, and just every once in a while I'll add it to some of the different, I don't know what you call those things, sparks, I guess, maybe, from the fireworks. I don't know. I'm not a pyrotechnician by any means. There we go. Maybe I'll bring it on all 5 of those little things. And because I'm doing a thin layer, I would not expect it to take very long at all to dry. And we have just that little extra pop of color. So there we have our Happy 4th of July card right here. So thanks so much for stopping by today, and check back every day from now through for the first 4 days of the month of July. I'm going to be doing different 4th of July projects. Tomorrow, on the July 2nd, we're going to be doing a project with the kids. So thanks so much for stopping by today, and remember, take some time to enjoy the little things. Have a great day. Bye.